welcome to episode number 82 of the Relationship Restaurant. We are Poppy and Jeff Spencer. Delighted to have you here. We are all about heart-healthy communications, and we have a wonderful guest today from up north. When you're in Wisconsin, you're saying up north. That's saying something. In Toronto, and I'm going to let Poppy introduce our friend Zayna.
Well, we're so excited to have Zayna Rose with us. She is an image strategist and consultant, and is fairly awesome. She's had her own TedX talk where she'll share some golden nuggets from that later. And she's going to teach us a little bit about what are some image things that we can do, especially in this virtual environment that we find ourselves in. We might feel it's a little bit foreign. And so Zayna is going to give us some tips that we can use to go forward from there. So welcome, Zayna. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Poppy and Jeff. I'm so happy to see you, and I'm excited to be here with everyone.
We're excited too. So how did you happen to become an image strategist and consultant?
Besides being so striking.
Yes.
Yes. Well, you'll appreciate this in particular because I am a lover of psychology. And my gift in life is really with people, right? Yes. I've always, in a funny way, I've always been doing what I do. I just didn't know what I was doing, I guess. So when many years ago in school, I chose psychology because that was the thing that appealed to me most. But in the end of the day, I did an internship in clinical neuropsych, and I realized that just wasn't, like, the clinical life just wasn't for me and all of that. But I found out about the field I'm in now, and it was incredibly exciting because it is helping people daily, but in different ways. I get to work with different personality types. I get to work with artists, scientists, financial people, entrepreneurs, not entrepreneurs. So for me, it was just this perfect blend. I get to speak, I get to write, I get to create. But most importantly, I'm getting to, be there and help guide people as they are making these transformations in their lives, whether they be every transformation significant, of course, but whether these changes be little tweaks or big makeovers or big transformations. And often what happens is people are going through some kind of shift in life, whether it be big or small. So it could be a big lifestyle change or, an identity shift, or it's a different time in the world, which is, of course, what we're seeing right now. So much self-reinvention is happening right now. And for some of us, it was, we were on that track and now's the time. And for others, there's been like a bit of an awakening of what do you want to do and how do you want to be?
Okay, that's amazing. And I love how you found this journey to be so fulfilling for you.
Yes.
So, today we were talking before about for just even setting up for a Zoom recording, right? And we have been doing Zoom for a number of years, working with clients who are out of state, and we work with them on a virtual platform. And of course, this year in 2020 with COVID, many people have found that is the only way that they can have meetings and interactions, family reunions, birthday celebrations, whatever it is. Are there some key points or takeaways that people can use as we go forward? It looks like we're still going to be having a lot of Zoom.
Yes, of course. And I'd be happy to give any of the, specific tips, but I want to just start by saying that one thing that can, all of what's happening is serious, and we have to find the way that we can best, go forward and create nice experiences for ourselves and for others. So it helps to think of a simple Zoom call as creating an experience for yourself and your audience.
I'm writing that down.
That's good. I've never actually said that before. That's a good one, isn't it?
It's good.
Let me just pat myself on the back. No, but honestly, it's that will frame the whole situation. That will help you not take yourself too seriously. That will help you take it seriously enough when it is, because we are talking about everything from, as you said, a family reunion or a virtual birthday party to a negotiation of consequence in your business. Right? That's the other kind of end of the spectrum there. And as with anything, we want the right amount of, if it's a business matter, the right amount of pressure on ourselves just so that we prepare. But what's happening is many people, and I get to receive people's anxieties and I can actually consider
so do
that.
We.
Yes, of course. And I consider it, a privilege because I can handle it and I'm happy to help and I love to help. But what's happening is people are getting caught in the small things and it makes complete sense. This is not their environment that they are used to. Even speakers who speak to thousands of people on live, physical stages and know how to present themselves confidently and happily some of them need to adjust even. So that I bring that up to say that even if you are experienced, you don't feel bad about wanting to adjust the plan for this small screen. If you've never gone on camera before, it's just a beautiful time to start doing that. And the other thing, the other example I'll give is, some people still watch network TV. I'm one of those people. And if you look at the late night talk show hosts, what a wonderful example that they set broadcasting from home in a way that was forced to be so organic. Now, if you think about what was happening there and how entertaining some of that was, that kind of leveled the playing field in a way for all of us in terms of production value and what has to happen, right? So you don't have to worry too much about all the fuss. You do want to create a little system that keeps you confident and keeps you comfortable. So that's what I care about because, of course, yes, it matters. It's relevant what people think of us. And we can get into the first impression thing a little later, but you will be your most kind of alert but relaxed self. And when I say perform, I just mean to be in the experience, but you will perform, in a natural, happy way if you are happy with how you show up. Right? So how we show up is a number of things. It's our overall energy projection. I consider that to be one of the most important, if not the most important. It matters how we use the frame because that's a key part of our communication. It matters how we put ourselves together in terms of what we choose to wear, how we choose to groom ourselves. Now that can be very simple. You don't have to dress up necessarily, right? You might want to, and you might need to for a certain thing, but it's not necessary a lot of the time. So when we know which simple things suit us in terms of color and style and fit, we get to be comfortable and not distracted ourselves. We get to be comfortable and not distract our audience because, of course, our audience can be one or two people, or it can be millions of people watching a live stream. So there's such a spectrum to that. And I can give you a few key things that can really help, but that sort of frames it for us, right? We want to create an experience. We want to be happy and comfortable and not distracted. And that tends to help the result, whether it is just having quality time with family and friends or actually doing a business building activity or selling.
Yeah, just the word distracted that you brought up. Excuse me. One of the things I know that constantly happens for all of us, and this is a major scales of network television, as well as just us. Like, for example, our dog is under our feet right now. Okay, and she's very sweet, and but we hear her tinkling around, her collars making noise.
Yeah, we forgot to take it off.
You know what? I'm not hearing it, so that's
good. I'm glad.
Yeah. I'm right here, and I don't hear it.
So we can be another case study for you.
Oh, there.
but I know we were laughing one time. We were watching. It was a national television news broadcast thing. And they were interviewing different people, and one of the ladies had her dog is in the background behind her. You can see the dog in a window, looking out the window, barking at a neighbor or something. And this is national news. This is
yes.
This is not just a us in a very casual conversation. So the idea of distractions become, I know, a huge issue for people doing things at home, because you have,
Yes.
I heard Poppy doing one earlier. There was some baby just screaming on the
Yes.
on this call.
Just on a small breakout session that we had this
Oh,
morning.
yes. Yes. Well, and what's interesting about what you're saying, Jeff, is now there's a middle level that I think didn't exist so much before. So there's no distraction. We all know we're at home currently, or, you know, most of us. And then there's dog barking out the window in the background. And then there's dog just taking a stroll through the background. Right. So now we're fine with that other one. We're fine with someone's pet taking a little walk in the back, or even being in the person's lap. I was actually thinking about that very thing the other day. That would have been strange to us a year ago for somebody to do a publicity interview, like with holding their pet, if the pet wasn't relevant to the project. But now that's sort of a normal thing. And it's almost an advantage sometimes, because like, how cool is it that we get to see people, journalists, performers, scientists, you name it, like in their environment? It gives, it lets us see some extra information about their personality style and maybe their lifestyle. So I find that kind of interesting, but I totally agree. There's that other level of, is there is the view we're having not like enabling us to focus well on the person and their message? Because that is the main, thing to watch out for. You know, that's the main possible, beyond distraction. Like we want people to be able to, I mean, of course, you know, the most important thing is what we're talking about, our message. And the more we can keep people focused on our faces and hearing our words, the better the outcome, right? Whether it's just to relationship build in a personal way, or as we said, whether it's a very specific business role that you're performing.
You know, it's also interesting. We are family law mediators. And so that has been a whole new business model that people have created to take mediation online, to make it a legal, ethical entity, to be able to do that ourselves, that we've had to kind of pivot and adjust to that as well, to know how to ethically and legally do that, and still, you know, I'm sure there's downloadable documents and things, and DocuSigns and virtual tools that we've used to be able to complete those kind of negotiations that you talked about. That's at the other end. But one of the things I just wanted to talk about, and I'm going to poke fun of myself a little bit, is that when we set up to do any kind of recording, and whether it was 3 years ago or this year, I still have the same thing. It's like we have certain boxes or books or things to raise the computer, lower it. And I'm like, I don't want all my double chins, triple chins showing. And Jeff is like, yeah, I don't really care. You know, he said, so he's very patient, because I'm sensitive to it.
Well, I care about some of the technical aspects. Like, for example, you know, I have a very high quality digital mic setup. We're using headphones to once again improve the sound qualities and take away echoes and things. We've worked a lot about lighting to make things hopefully look warm and comfortable, but not too bright or, you know, harsh on us.
And we have a green screen, and sometimes we use it. We don't. We like to change the backdrop a little bit.
Yes.
But it's funny. It's like, do I need another book here? Do we need to raise this or lower this?
Yes, absolutely.
That's my own vanity, and I know you have your own 2 cents about vanity.
Well, I did. What did I say something to you yesterday about my little vanity moment? I was saying,
No, you didn't tell me a personal.
Oh, is that what I was saying?
But you said
anyway.
It's an asset, and I love
that. Exactly. It's a little, you know. I know what I said. A touch of vanity is an asset.
Yes.
yes.
Just a little bit.
But all of the things that Jeff is talking about, those are part of making us look good. So I think it's a wonderful marriage of the technical and the aesthetic, right? So again, we can think about having, I like to talk about, okay, let's have harmony and let's have alignment. So when I think about harmony, I'm talking more about, visual and audio harmony. Let's have us look the way that represents us well. Let's have sound quality be good so we come across the way, the way we actually are speaking. We want to be seen as attractive. Why not, right? There's no beauty convention that we're referencing, but we want to feel good when we see ourselves. And sometimes we catch ourselves on camera and we go, do I look like that? Like, because Poppy, what you were saying, if the angle isn't quite right, and I can show you by just tipping my laptop back and forth in a second, or if you have a photo shoot and your photographer goes just a little bit lower than eye level, like the shape of your face can change in a photo, or, shadows can be created if the wrong color, like I've got I won't go into it, but, if you're not wearing colors that are flattering to you, it's not there's visual communication is affected. Right. It can be, right. and also your own energy of how you look and feel. So keeping things in harmony is more, the visual and the physical things, and let's have that, be all lined up the way we need it to be. And it can be very simple. Like I've also got a digital mic. I've got one softbox light directly facing me just above my camera. When it comes to the angles, that's still fine, but okay, I've cut off the top of my head. If I go too much like this, I see a lot of this. So if you're watching the visual with us, what's happening is now I've tipped my laptop back. And it's not as flattering for my face, but also my use of space has changed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not as good at all. So not only the angle.
Everybody see that? Because this will be a video. Yeah. If you're listening on a podcast, you can jump on YouTube and catch this.
Yes.
But
so, super simple. I see a lot of this. So yeah, there's too much space now up around my head. The light is still fine. The kind of angle in my face, not quite as flattering. I also see this, but brought closer. Like people are kind of
yes, on top of you,
underneath their face, right? Yes. So you do want to raise. So there we go. That's very nice.
And do you use a separate camera, or do you have
I'm using my MacBook Pro camera, which is a great camera.
We're doing the same thing. Yeah.
So if I tip this down a little bit, then because I'm shorter, I almost cut off Jeff's head.
Yeah. And sometimes it's okay. Like if that's not a huge problem. The tip of the head maybe not being in the frame, it's nice for it to be in the frame, but when you have height discrepancy, so, I've had a photo shoot before I'm 5'3" and with someone who was 5'9", and sometimes you have to, you look at the angles and how close should you be sitting together and all that stuff. So anyway, if you do a little bit of testing with very simple things, you can then get ready in 5 minutes or less, right? So I did it today. I do it all the time. That's why I started phrasing it that way for people, because you have other things to do. Even if it's that you get 5 more minutes of sleep, I consider that worth it. Right? Or you get a chance to have a snack, or you spend 5 minutes with a loved one that you maybe, 5 extra minutes or something. So if you have a couple of key outfits that are simple in colors that you feel good about, that are flattering to you, you know what your go-to lighting setup is. You know where your mic lives, and you know where the little adapter is if that's what you need to plug it. You just have all your things. Think of it as your own little media kit, right? And you only need 3 tops in that kit, maybe.
Yeah.
You can do very simple. You can pick like the one makeup thing if you wear makeup that's most important to you. I brought this so, no matter if you are someone who wears makeup or not, generally having a translucent powder and a little face brush is great for anyone, right? And that just when you're using bright lights takes the shine off.
I have the same one too, yeah.
Do you? Yeah. Bare Minerals. What color is this? Do we also share the color? Yeah. And if you don't want to use powder, the other thing you can do is, I don't have them beside me, but there are these little papers that you can get at the drugstore, and they're called blotters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you just blot the shine off your face. And that's another thing, just little simple things like that. And just making sure that, things fit well and that you don't feel uncomfortable in any way and that you've got light that lights you well, that doesn't make you super hot. And
no, I'm laughing because we were I was like, oh, I think the lights are too hot.
You didn't say lights.
I just said
you said it's too hot.
Yeah, I meant the lighting is, and Jeff was like, okay, well, I'll turn off the air, the heat,
The other quick tip that I should give too is when you have a lighting kit that you can, get off Amazon or the camera, wherever you would shop for that stuff. Ring lights are very popular. I have a soft box. Those are those square things with sort of the filter on top. Yes. And so sometimes the light bulb that it comes with isn't right for you. No,
it's way too harsh. We took a bed sheet and put it over it.
Right. Or sometimes like the ones that came with mine were too warm. They were casting a bit of an orangey light.
Okay.
And so I just had to switch out the light bulbs, and I ordered a new ring light. It's arrived. I haven't tested it yet, but that has a temperature control. So it goes from simulated daylight, which is cooler light generally, and then it goes into the kind of warm light. Now, if you're like me, like I have a medium skin tone and I look different in different types of light. I look very different.
Right.
I look different if you put me outside, put me inside, put me under this light bulb, put me under that light bulb. And that's the case for many of us. It's just more noticeable with certain skin types and skin tones. And so you need to light yourself for you, right? Not just generic light setup. And again, it might come out of the box perfect as a solution. And you might need to fiddle around with that a little bit, just a little bit of experimenting and a little bit of testing. You'll be super happy. And then you can get ready to do something important in 5 minutes or less, because I'll wear one of my go-to tops. I'll just do a little mascara or a little lipstick, or I'll brush my powder, or I won't do that. I don't have time, but I know, how to use my frame, where to sit, everything. Right. So I know those are kind of straightforward things to talk about, but when it's not your everyday, it can sometimes be nice to have a little mini checklist for what to do. Yeah. And actually, the one thing I will also say that I was reminded of when you were speaking about your family mediation practice is that's a wonderful example of why you want to represent yourself in an authentic way. And that's that other piece of being in alignment, how you represent yourself, being in alignment with your authentic personality, your values, your intentions, your trajectory of life and business. Because that is something, if someone's not so much a mediation, but maybe like, or the example of a, what is it? Like not deposition, but anyway, when you're negotiating,
right,
you want to be seen as your most genuinely approachable, caring, self, and as who you really are. Because if you represent yourself, and I call it cookie cutter solutions, if you go grab like a random solution, which there's nothing wrong with that because we do our best. And this is not an area of expertise for most people, right? We're not taught how to craft our image in school.
Right.
But if you reach for a solution that's a bit random and it doesn't actually line up with you and flatter you, then the sort of overall vibe and either in subconscious and conscious message you're giving off might not be in alignment with you. And sometimes that is of high consequence and sometimes it's not. But it's always advantageous when it is.
No, I agree with that. And we're also Myers-Briggs certified practitioners. So we talk about that for people that have like a sensing preference, right? They take in information through the 5 senses. And so if you're saying like clothing doesn't feel right, or it's heavy, or their sensory overload becomes a distraction for themselves, then how they present themselves will of course be modified,
Yes,
it'll come off differently.
Absolutely. And so much of the, again, it's for us for the most part, but how it's such an integral part of how we express ourselves on a daily basis. And just giving that a little bit of thought, and even just in terms of the first impression, we don't want to have mismatched messages, right? So
Nice. I like
one
that.
example is, let's just say you have, because this is, I'm not referring to anyone in particular, but this is a general description of something I have helped with many times. So picture a tech professional who is actually highly cutting edge in what they provide, what they sell, what they do, how they think, right? Modern in all ways, except sometimes the way they look.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the easiest thing to adjust. So that's actually, it's fine. It's the easiest thing to adjust. But imagine the mismatch you get if you're listening to somebody talk about this cutting edge, most modern technology and ways of even living and doing business. And what you're looking at is something outdated. Now, there's a difference between outdated and vintage, right? So if that person happens to have adopted the vintage 80s vibe, like that's one thing. But if it's just outdated, and the three most critical bits of those are hair, glasses, and shoes. Like if you just want to do the essentials, those are three things to make sure that those things suit you. And then I would also say just, your style of clothing does not ever have to be fashion forward. It is helpful if it is current in style in some way.
Right.
Or it could be classic, or it could be vintage. You just don't want to have the pieces put together where it looks like you have not updated yourself. And the following thing I'm going to say is certainly not fair, but what happens is subconsciously people tend to perceive that person as being outdated in general.
Right.
And you don't always get the chance to sit and explain something and speak intelligently on your topic. Sometimes it's a flash, right? Like I came up with this idea last week of calling it flash impressions now because like what's happening? We're scrolling. You have to stop the scroll. You have to be click worthy. And I don't mean to say that to pressure anyone. It's just, that's the reality of some components of business and social media, or just people browsing, or even people flipping channels or scanning YouTube or whatever it may be. Our job, at least in business, is to intrigue and inspire our audience to take the next step or learn the next thing about us, or keep listening, or even if it's just, and sometimes it's self-promotion and it's our own business and we are personal brands. And other times you've got people communicating on behalf of a highly essential not-for-profit organization or a charity, right? And we still need even those people to be the best possible communicators they can be visually and verbally, so that impact is made and the cause is helped.
Yes, I totally get that. I wanted to go back to one of the things and do a deeper dive into how our own self-image that we, experience internally is reflected outwardly. And I mean, I think many people have already heard that how we perceive ourselves is how we will project to the world, and how the world will then perceive us as well. And so what are some things that, and certainly in our businesses that we work with women who have been in unhealthy relationships, difficult relationships, and who are either in them or trying to transition away from them or are recovering from them.
And often their self-image has been badly corroded, corrupted.
Yes.
It's been changed. It's been defined by somebody else.
Yes.
And so they're trying to, reemerge and refine that part of themselves and believe in themselves again and feel good about themselves again.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is one of my favorite topics, because this is what gets me most excited about helping with this area, right? And one of the things I have found is that working on the way you express yourself, the way you look, the way you show up in the world, that's an act of self-love.
Nice.
And it's also a gateway. It's an easier step to take. it's a gateway into some of the deeper conversations we need to have with ourselves, some of the deeper realizations, or we've had the realizations about our identity and our position in our own lives in the world. But as we all know, it's not easy to take those steps for most people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so starting with little things, right? Like there's a reason why when people have a life change, sometimes they go get a major haircut.
Yes.
Right. I know someone who recently she's very happy. But she's in a fresh phase of life. What did she do? She cut off 8 inches of hair, changed the color of it. Like that is a very common action that people take because we are living with ourselves, looking at ourselves in the mirror. We either, if we don't think about it if it's not top of mind, we inherently know that our bodies, that's our connection to the world. And it's our image, our bodies, the way we move around, all that stuff, that is speaking, whether we like it or not. It's speaking to people. It's signaling people.
I was just going to say 2 things. When I was working as a therapist with young girls, teenagers who struggled with an eating disorder, it was always about controlling. And so they can't control their external environment and maybe some of their internal, but they could control their bodies. And so they would use the body to control. It wasn't necessarily about body image as it was about the need to control, feeling out of control in their world. And the second part that I was going to share is one of our daughters was she was, when she was in college, she was like, well, I think she lived in a tiny studio apartment in Chicago, and she said, I moved the furniture around. And I was like, how could you move the furniture around? You have like 600 square feet, what did you do? And so that was always her like nudge to herself to examine why she was changing her external environment when the internal needed a tweaking.
That's fast. Yeah. It's like creating space.
Yeah.
And moving the energy.
You mentioned also the hair thing. This was a big tip off to especially Poppy, because Poppy started a communication with someone we'd known well but been out of touch with, and saw a recent picture of this woman, and her hair was dramatically different. Her look was dramatically different. Poppy was like, "Whoa, what happened here? What's taken place that caused this enormous big change?" And it was a very relevant change to what we're doing. We've actually had this person on board with podcast, and told that's a great one to listen to, by the way. A very passionate story. Just the one, I think just last one we did, right?
Right. But anyway, it was, so yes, changing the hair, changing the look, maybe getting rid of clothing, and what about especially women? I don't know about men necessarily, but women with weight. I mean, that is such a really fragile topic to bring up.
It is. And whether it's weight or skin issues or something else, it's a process of starting a process of like liberation, right? You start to try to liberate yourself consciously or non-consciously from an old way of being, an old mentality, an old life. And what's great about giving yourself even a simple makeover is you can push that internal button with the external.
Nice.
And so this idea of liberation is maybe just, okay, I am going to look at myself in a new way because I'm going to let go of this idea that I'm not attractive enough, that I'm not good enough, right? And that, as we know, you have to chip away at those beliefs a lot of the time. It doesn't go away overnight. But this is one thing that you can add to, your kind of self-intervention and therapeutic measures and all of that. But like we said before, it's kind of an easier thing to start with. But if you can let go, even if it's letting go of a few items that you own that represent something you do not care to carry forward in terms of a belief, right? And then you enter, so there's liberate something, then you enter a phase of exploration. So you get to decide, who do I want to be right now? How do I want to look right now? How do I, what do I want to reflect regardless of what my past has been?
Mm-hmm.
So being intentional, about the exploration. And then once you kind of settle into a phase of, I'm going to roll with this for now. I feel good about this. I took a few steps. Then you can expand that self-expression in other ways. Right. And some people go, okay, I've got this. Okay, maybe now I'll look at my home decor, or maybe I'll, try new workouts or whatever it is. Like, it starts to spread to different areas of life. There's like an expansion of this sort of new feeling, a new way. And it can be subtle, or it can appear to be more dramatic or something, but it can aid the healing of other things.
We like the idea you were discussing too of how women look at how they present themselves as self-love, their expression.
Yes, and I don't know how much of that is, how many people think of that on a really conscious level, but I think that when we stop and examine, that's, to me, that's what it is. I think it's a beautiful thing, because the idea of self-care is very much prevalent now, right? It's, as we go on, it's more and more, and it really is about self-care, and with women in particular who have families and feel that, they're very much in a lovely way dedicated to their families. They sometimes, as we all know, don't leave themselves enough time. Right?
I'm guilty of that.
Sure. And I said something that sounded, I don't know how this will sound, but somebody, people will often say like, oh, I need new, even if it's a really simple thing like new clothes. Well, they feel bad about spending money on themselves when they can get by with what they still have.
Right.
But are you getting by in a happy way because you really have enough, and you want to be minimalistic? Or do you not have what you are actually comfortable in that you deserve? Right? And so even shopping is not necessarily a luxury.
No.
Right? Sometimes it's
a challenge.
And you need to take care of yourself. And if you're a business person, shopping is potentially like it's good marketing, depending on what you're doing. You have to keep yourself as part of the picture, like it's
I
just
like that.
Keep and part of the picture. And we have to love ourselves in this way, because other people can sometimes identify that you need something in terms of self-care or self-expression or a makeover or, something physical like that. But it's also a sensitive thing to say to someone, and it's, it's nicer when, they can maybe make suggestions, or, sometimes you get nudged by people who offer you a spa day or a suggestion or something, but what they're maybe really wanting for you is to love you in that way, and to give you that in the form of time or in the form of a treat.
Right.
And sometimes you need sometimes a little pampering just feels good. A lot of the time it's not even pampering. It's just, there's a part of life though, right? Taking care of our physical selves. And we all know we need to eat well. We know we need to move our bodies. We know many people need their physiotherapy and things like that. But there's this other part that's connected to our spirits, really, the whole, how do we present ourselves in terms of how we dress and how we groom and how we take care of our skin and all of that. Like it's just such a part of everyday life that it should be an easy part. Mm-hmm. Right. And that just goes back to having what you need and what suits you, and being intentional about it, which doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be difficult. It just needs a little attention.
Right. So what would you suggest for especially young families, young moms who suddenly have their kids at home doing virtual schooling and still have to manage that because perhaps they're in elementary school and are also working from home and trying to manage what can they do to get like a quick start of self-care?
So I think that there needs to be like a monthly, let's call it monthly. Let's not get too crazy. Let's call it a monthly appointment with yourself.
I like
or,
that.
like sometime once a month that you get to have, maybe it's a half day. I don't know if that's asking too much, but maybe there's a half day a month where now because I don't have children, so that's why I say I don't know if that's asking too much. I don't want to.
Oh, I think that sounds reasonable.
So you can use this half day to do the things that require more effort, right? Like maybe you need a massage because massages are sometimes necessary. Maybe you need to get your hair done. Maybe that's when you watch a movie by yourself in your home with your favorite snack and dance around to a few songs in your closet with you know what I mean? Like whatever it is but maybe there's a monthly time that you need, at minimum. And then the other thing is to set yourself up to have an easier daily experience with things like your clothing and your makeup and your, if you're also a business person who's doing what we're doing now on camera, like have your little system set up. So maybe there needs to be, maybe you need to spend one full day at some point working this out, and then you have it.
When you said the thing about taking a half day to yourself, which is a great idea, not questioning that. I think what a lot of women can often struggle with is making that request, though.
Yeah.
Is this saying to their
significant other,
husband, partner?
Yes,
whatever,
I can imagine. Yes.
Saying, hey, I need this.
Yeah.
I need your support in backing me on this. I need you to watch the kids while I do this. I need,
or either a sitter or a relative.
Those two
I
words,
know.
I think.
I think you're right. And the part of that is also, I wouldn't want them to have to justify this.
Right.
That's the trick, and that's more your area.
They feel guilty.
There's so much shame and guilt.
Yes.
Like, I don't deserve this.
So maybe it's systematic desensitization situation. Maybe you need to ask for 1 hour, and then you need to work up to your half day. But I also, just from the heart would want them to not have to justify this time. That's what everyone deserves. And I understand that logistically sometimes it's very, very challenging, and I don't mean to make an assumption that it's possible for everyone, but whatever maybe your version of that could be. And I had another idea, Jeff, while you were talking is, if you're a mom and you have mom friends, maybe the mom friends do this at the same time every month together.
Yes.
And they do different things together that they need and want. And maybe that's the day that the dad or the other mom or another caretaker gets to, that maybe it's a routine.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well,
and the other partner, if there's another partner or another caretaker, they probably will cherish the quality time with those kids too. So I hope.
Yes. So what else can women do to start to feel that they are worthy of that? So that, does it start with the external self-image to get to the internal?
I think we're all wrestling with the internal, right? We don't always articulate it well. We don't always have the highest awareness of it, but it's in there. But I will say many times I will get people, as you know, I do more than just deal with style, but that is often the thing that brings the person to the door because they think, oh, I need a makeover. I need this. I need that.
Right.
And usually they do. But what happens is sometimes those people also need help with their on-camera presence or their interpersonal, the way they network. They might need other things. But I always begin with the physical makeover. And the reason for that is it pulls other things with it. It pulls confidence up with it. It changes body language in an instant sometimes.
And energy. And
energy shift, instant energy shift. So what happens, you help somebody to look look better, in a way that makes them happier more. All of a sudden they're walking taller with a little bit of a happy strut. There's a lightness that comes in. right? And what often happens is because I was there in accompaniment, they feel that it was something that I did. And I'm very quick to say, no, you did this. I just,
Nice.
guided, but this was you. And I want you to own that because you will carry that with you.
Right.
So some little things, and where you can start is without having to spend money, without having to go shopping, which is a precarious situation. It's harder to shop online for many of us.
Yes.
But what you can do is start in that, liberation and exploration area. So even just write down one thing that you would like to let go of, whether it's a belief about how you look or how you feel, or, pick a thing that you already know is not great for you to have inside, right? Pick one of those things, write it down, make an intention to let that go, and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to start a fresh phase. So the exploration of it can be even just looking to your style icons or identify some style icons. So open up your Instagram. Who do you like? Who do you think is exuding beauty and confidence? And it can be, they don't have to look like you. They don't have to be in your age bracket. They don't have to be in your part of the world. But that's an easy, you might have off the top of your mind, who are your favorite, who are your favorite personal friends? And then who are your favorite famous people? And the reason I pick famous people, they could be entrepreneurs, they could be performers, but it's a thing that we can latch onto, and also there are a lot of visuals for us to observe.
Sure.
So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, like who do you like the energy? So I'll give you a little inside peek into my mind. I'm 41, and I kind of the 40 was.
I cannot believe you're 41.
I know.
Well, she's 25, I think.
No, well, thank you. I'm going to take that as a compliment. But there you go, some flattering lighting and a nice color, and you get to also look 15 years younger than you are. So 40, as you can imagine, is like, it's a milestone, right? And I felt funny about it, but then 41 hit me not well.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know, because now you're in it, right? Like,
okay.
Now you're over the border.
You're really committed to 40 now, aren't you?
Yeah, now there's like, and I have this, my really good friend, Joe, he just nonchalantly goes, yeah, just turned 39, just turned 36 again. Like, and he just kind of said, that's what my wife did. And I went, oh, that's a good idea. but so my point is, when you reach an age that you're like, this feels funny, right? It feels funny. I'm not complaining. It's a privilege to age. Because either you get older or there's no more. So, but then I started thinking about, okay, well, I love Jennifer Lopez. I love Salma Hayek. I love Jennifer Aniston. Like these people are 50.
They're killing it. Right.
And so I just think like, well, it's fine. I'm going to be, the Salma Hayek, J-Lo kind of 50 when I get there. So it's just, like you can, but it's just, who do you enjoy? Yeah. And then look at their, I understand that what people project in the media isn't necessarily them, but that's okay. It's not really relevant in this moment. We're just looking for inspiration.
Right.
So, what is it that I love about the style of Jennifer Aniston? Well, I like her sort of quiet, like she's got like a quiet elegance. She's kind of sporty. She's very kind, that kind of thing. And if you look at someone like Salma Hayek, she's like exudes her natural sexiness, and she's so vibrant, and she really just like speaks her mind, and I relate to both of those personality types, right? So that's the kind of thing. And then you go, okay, well, how can I make sure that I'm living in that part of myself that I feel I'm a little bit, I live, that's who I am, but am I really sitting in it, right? Am I really feeling it? And what will help you do that? So, and sometimes you've got stuff in your own closet that's sitting around that you haven't touched, and that you need to check that out. Or sometimes maybe it's you want a new lipstick, just something that makes you feel beautiful and different. There's some value in feeling different than you did yesterday, right? It doesn't have to be a departure of your identity, but you might want it to be. Could be just a little thing, like what makes me feel good. It could be a lot of people sit around in black and white and beige and gray all the time.
Yes.
Get some color in your life. Figure out which of these color areas, zones, or whatever, try a bright color, and that's in when you're going on for business, if you want to look your most approachable, color psychology comes into play. How sporty or formal do you want to look? Do you want to have like a pattern break in your area? So for example, I, as an image consultant, I'm of the more sporty variety. Most of my colleagues would not dress the way that I do on camera. They just wouldn't, right? I don't mind if I'm wearing a hoodie, if it fits well and it's a nice color. I like to show the different sides of myself. And I personally don't like to dress up for no reason, but I like to dress up for a reason. So who are you? If you like to dress up, especially now, actually, I'm kind of
Yeah.
I wish I could put on a cute skirt and some booties and go to the theater is what I wish, but none of that's happening. So, but just, what is missing in your life that you want, and give it to yourself, even if it's a small thing. It could be just that simple, actually.
When I was teaching psychology at a university, it was an art and design college. So one of the units that we had every semester was on the psychology of color and how we market ourselves with color and how that works. And we learned that like navy is the color of authority.
Yes.
It represents that. But brown is the color of listening, is the color of receiving. So it depends. So if we were doing family law mediation, I would probably be doing a brown color. I don't want to be the authority. I'm the neutral party there. We're the neutral parties. And so it is a difference in how those are conscious decisions we make.
Absolutely. And where it gets exciting, because navy, it's authoritative, but it's also approachable.
Right.
Versus black.
Yeah.
Navy is so much more approachable than black, right? And then if you were to wear the brown, where it gets kind of exciting is like, okay, do you want to wear, now I get, I'll get like, oh, do you want to wear cinnamon, or do you want to wear like a beige? Like what
cinnamon,
are we doing?
Yeah, I like
like what kind of brown? Like we want it to be a flattering one that still has you looking vibrant. And that's actually, you're touching on it now. You're touching on what I call profitable style. And that is when all the pieces come together. So that's when you've customized your look in such a way where you've balanced your authentic personality style with your business strategy, with the psychology of the moment and the experience. And also when you've attended to your specifications, like what type of body do you have and how are the lines and how do you flatter yourself, right? So when you put all these pieces together, you have profitable style, because at that point, your look and your style actually becomes an asset within your communication and your marketing, to the point where it assists you in attracting the ideal people and the ideal opportunities for you that actually do lead to not only income, but more opportunities, right? So when everything's working the right way and the puzzle is put together, and puzzle is probably a bad word, that makes it sound hard, but when all the pieces are together, that's when that clicks in and you have that.
Right. Mm-hmm. And we also, in our business, when we're working with these women, we intentionally use pink, because pink is a very calming color.
Yeah.
And we wear pink a lot to warrant that to project that calmness. And
I love that.
And so that's an intentional move.
And blue also is quite soothing.
Yes.
As I know that you know. And sometimes, and even just on a very everyday level, for people who don't necessarily need to create what you and I sometimes need to create, it might just be that you look at what you have and there's a whole area of the color spectrum that's just missing. So as I said before, maybe you're all neutrals, or maybe you're mostly neutrals, but you have lots of blue. But maybe I often find there's nothing green and nothing purple. And sometimes
look at you today.
And sometimes nothing pink. And so I like to I give people low risk. I recommend low risk purchases sometimes. So that might mean, okay, look, I know you're not used to wearing pink, but I would, just trust me. Let me give you this one. Like, you wear this top that's, $30. It's not going to break the bank. Let's try it. This is the experiment, low cost experiment, right? You let me know how you feel, but that item has to be of decent quality and it has to fit well. It has to, it can't just be anything. But it eases people into something new. And then they go, oh, I like this actually. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Or some people will tell you, oh, I have no problem, wear any color you want. I just don't know how to pick it. I don't know, but I'll do whatever. So some people are open, but we feel different ways. And that's why people sometimes reference power color. And that's not a term I really use a lot, but it is used
a lot. Yes.
And what I'll say about that is just which set of colors or color in particular do you feel energizes you a little bit? Because that's also a physical pick-me-up. We resonate more. Some of us resonate with these kinds of colors. Others resonate with those. Like, I feel very beautiful and powerful in this kind of purple, and also like a very bright blue-red. Mm-hmm. And for someone else, that will drain them. For someone else, they need like a soft green or something different, right? Like, it just depends what resonates with us, really. And that there's a connection between that and how we physically look. So we're born naturally looking a certain way, and then some colors flatter us, meaning help us to look at our most healthy, and some don't. And when we are in the ones that help us look at our most healthy, it also keeps the attention on our face.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. I think that's great. I know when we had a couple times being on TV promoting our business or whatever, and our book, we had I made the mistake once. Jeff was wearing this striped shirt, and it was like, okay, every viewer is going to get vertigo here.
Did it move?
A little bit.
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh my gosh. And I know better. And we just
well, it doesn't,
it
doesn't always happen though, to your credit. Like, it doesn't always happen. When the stripes are small and close together and of high contrast, like if they're black and white or navy and white or something like that, then they're more likely to move.
It was green, white, and black. It was like, oh my gosh, it was
way
moving
like crazy.
too much. So
that's why but that's sort of a funny thing,
This has been so exciting for us to have you here. We could talk for hours.
I know we better.
So what, how can people find you?
Well, you can find me at zaynarose.com. That's ZAYNAROSE.com. And if you don't mind, I'd like to give a gift to your group.
Sure.
So there's something that I do, and you will see it on my website for $97, but I would like to give it complimentary for anyone of your listeners because they've listened. But it's called a Profitable Presence Jumpstart session.
Nice.
Yeah. And so in that session, I will help you identify your next best steps that move you toward being, it is called the profitable, I explained profitable style, but essentially help you look and feel great in whatever is your venue. So if you need it for a business reason, or if you are, just want to personally take a step toward some of the things we have been talking about today, I'd be so thrilled to help you do that. So it's just an easy conversation, and I can give you the link to.
Okay, we'll put that in.
Yeah.
And I'll
give you they can just put in Poppy. In Jeff or whatever we want the code to be, and we'll make sure they get that, and then it'll be complimentary.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been wonderful talking with you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Zayna. It's Zayna Rose, everybody. We are definitely going to sign out. Jeff doesn't know that
yet.
Yes,
please. Please, I would love to talk to you. Anyway, I hope I see you again soon.
All right, we will. All right,
take care.
Zayna.
Thanks for being on.